How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Draft of the Future, where I just learned that people still use coins on this planet. I'm Matt, that's Ryan, and we are talking about our top 10 offensive tackles in this. We've been doing a series. You can look at all of our other position rankings so far by going through the channel. We would appreciate a like and subscribe. Hey, it's free. Have your friends do it. Like, all it does is help us. It's all it does, and no one ever has to pay a dime. We would really, really, really appreciate it. So, yeah, you want to dig into these tackles?
Sure. I real quick, one point of pride for us. We interviewed Landon Robinson back in October. We told everyone that we thought he was potentially a day two, but definitely early day three guy, and that people needed to pay attention to him. And I tagged Trevor Sycamore from PFF in a post after he said that the board's just updated. And I was like, gonna have to update that bad boy again after Landon Robinson's pro day. And at that time, Landon was, I think, 320 something. And newest PFF board as of, I think, yesterday, he is 122 overall, which is where he should be at worst. So super excited for him because he's definitely going to be drafted. Our next missions are Cameron Stewart and Max Pooley. So keep an eye on those guys because Max just had a pretty solid pro day.
Yeah.
And I think we got 2 more days until Cameron Stewart's pro day to see how he does. So excited about that. Love seeing those guys that are overlooked get the attention that they deserve. So let's hop into this. Is our interior O-line from last week. We talked about that. But now we're going to get into the big guys, the offensive tackles. And real quick, Matt, my perspective on this group is that if you need a guy now, get him early. Otherwise, maybe in a few years, you've got a guy that can start. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you in my belief in the players. I just get worried because when I did my research, it is very rare. It is very rare for a guy to be drafted outside of round one and get his shot. At the left tackle position, the lowest round grade, we got a couple sevens in here and even one UDFA, two, the guys who are like starting in the league. But if you average up, the average draft round for left tackle is 1.8. So if you're not a round one or round two guy, your odds are low. And then on right tackle, you got a few more from around. The average is 2.13. But again, this is where you find the threes and the fives. So these guys who go later probably end up playing on the right side based on my research on all the starting tackles in the NFL, which kind of works because there are a lot of right tackles in the class.
Yeah. So let's get going. I'll start by talking about my number one, and then you can talk about your number one, and then we'll have our top two covered.
There you go.
Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. He is an absolutely massive human. He's got elite size, great length, and for his size, he has some pretty surprising athleticism. Honestly, he's pretty fluid and gets set well when he's dealing with speed rushers. One of the things that I notice he struggles with a little bit is playing a bit upright, which means he can get over on himself a little, which can cause some issues. I do think he needs to improve in the run. But what I'll say is the upward trajectory of a guy that doesn't have a ton of starts, along with his natural gifts, is why I gave him the edge here. I think he's just a true left tackle that can end up being a long-term 10-plus year starter in the league. So that's Monroe Freeling for me.
So I have a question before I get into Francis Marinoa or CC Marinoa. Did you base your rankings on who you think they will be or who you think they are right now?
It's a combination because I think like if you had to tell me which one right now, Maui Noah is probably a shade higher than Freeling.
So
Uh,
that's
but I think
where our
he's
difference
so
is.
much ceiling. Yeah.
I agree that in 5 years, Freeling will be the better tackle. But if I have to start a tackle this year, then I go with Francis Marinoa. The tape is way more consistent.
Yeah.
He's got more experience. That's not a knock on Monroe Freeling, but it does give us the opportunity to talk to mention that this is a class where you're going to see the teams who are willing to roll dice on potential, and the teams who are like, no, I am looking at what I know is there.
Yeah.
And so, because athletically, Monroe Freeling's athletic testing was amazing. He's longer and he plays left tackle. He is a true left tackle, and Mauinoa is a true right tackle.
Yep.
But Mauinoa has enough length, but we don't have the real athletic testing yet, which might change things on my board. Which might change things on my board. Like I expect Monroe Freeling to be more athletic. So that in and of itself, but the question will be like, okay, how he might be slower. Is he slow? I don't know that Maui Noah is slow. I just think he's not as athletic as Freeling, but he's got great technique. That it's weird because people say, "Oh, like the run game," because the thing I'm hearing is he's a much better pass blocker than a run blocker, and I mean the data bears that out. But you're really splitting hairs. Like I got no beef with an 80.8 run blocking grade, and
he has great power in the run game too. You know, because he's a more compact guy than Freeling is, and he's obviously a bigger, thicker guy too.
So there are people who think like 3, 4, 6 is too high for either Maui-Noah or Freeling. If you're going to be impatient, yeah, it's too high for Freeling. Like you draft Freeling and you put him on the field, you better be ready to like let a inexperienced person grow. Like, but you better know what you're in for. Same thing with Ty Simpson. Don't draft a guy with no experience and throw him in the fire and be like, "Why aren't you awesome?" Like,
unless you're the Browns or Steelers, feel free to do that.
feel free to do that. But the who's going to draft the guy who they know is safe? And I think to me, one of the things we're going to be talking about in April during round one is, this is a bet on athleticism, and this is a safer pick. I don't think I was talking to Ryan this morning. I don't know. I think I can think of literally 2 safe bets in this whole class.
Yeah,
it's
tough.
Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. Everybody else, don't get me wrong, I might love them, but there are holes in literally every other game. Jeremiah Love, my bad.
Oh yeah.
Other...
I was gonna say with these two guys, they are both the first round locks. Like I think Maui Noah could go as high as 3 because that makes a ton of sense for the Cardinals who desperately need a right tackle. Monroe Freeling could go as high as 6 because the Browns desperately need an offensive line. They've added some guys, but they do. And then honestly, I think the furthest Freeling falls is pick 17 to the Lions. And Maui Noah, I think, I don't know exactly who, but he goes higher than that too. So it's when we get past those guys that first round is like maybe
the warts are a little more obvious.
Yeah. So I'll talk about Max Ionacher, and then you can talk about Caden Proctor. So Ionacher, again, that's one of those a little bit of projection, but considering the inexperience of this guy in terms of playing football, it's hard to overlook just the natural talent that he has. You know, I put in my notes, started football last week. Um, so like when you look at his tape, his technique is inconsistent and needs a lot of work, but he's a pretty solid athlete. He was a soccer and basketball guy in Nigeria before he came and started playing um, uh, football. He started at a community college level and then worked his way up, but there's a lot of projection here, but he's got a great combination of size and athleticism, and considering the lack of experience, the tape's not that bad. Like it's some pretty solid stuff, and it looks like stuff that if he gets in the right guy that can work with like hand placement, footwork, those type of things, you can get that fixed. So in an ideal world, he is a team's swing tackle this year as he gets some coaching and experience to at the next level before potentially taking over after that. I would hate to see him get tossed out and get wrecked in year one, but I have him pretty high just because I feel like the ceiling is so high.
I agree. The potential's there, and he's someone like I think all the guys I have here are tackles. But then there are guys who I think are like absolute tackles, and Max is an absolute tackle. You don't look at him and be like, well, I might kick him into guard, which is kind of the thing I've heard about Proctor, and I kind of understand why.
Yeah.
Caden Proctor is what like if you're looking at height, weight, that kind of stuff, he's built like a dream offensive tackle. He did trim down a little bit. What did he weigh at the combine? I got 352, but I think he's lowered.
I'll check while you're talking.
So he got his weight down. He's a little slower on his 40. Now he's not like terrible. He's just not. He's just not as quick and athletic. But again, he's closer to 340 than he is 310.
Yeah,
so
it was 352.
Oh yeah, so I got him at 352. So you can run 5'2", 140 when you're 352 pounds.
Like, yeah, and he played at like 360 most of the season. So
yeah, I want to see some other things. I've seen things on film that hint at potential athleticism, and the testing is making me watch the film again and be like, is this the same guy who caught a bubble screen? Like it's so weird. And that has people thinking kind of like, well, I bring him in, maybe I start him at guard and kick him out if he develops, or I let him fail and kick him in. And again, I am actually okay with the let him fail, kick him in plan. But I would make sure I talk to my PA team and my coaches who are like, we're going to give him a shot, but we already believe in him as a guard, but we think he can shine as a tackle. I think he is a tackle. I think that when you're that big and that heavy and that strong and still that fast, you gotta get a shot. And his upside is, people look back and be like, how did he not go in the top 10? But his floor turns out he was a guard after all. So I would say on my list, I don't know what your thoughts are, he is the ultimate boomer bust on this whole list.
Yeah, that honestly is one of the reasons why he's a little lower. And maybe this is like Bengals bias, but he kind of reminds me of Andre Smith, who was out of Alabama, who was okay, but we drafted him high first round, and he just wasn't ever really what you expected. Mm-hmm. And my thing with him is, and I think part of the issue, you talked about, how is this the same guy that caught a bubble screen? Well, I think that conditioning is the issue. And it's what I've seen a little bit when I was watching some games, is like his technique was really solid early in games. Later in games looked a little lackluster in his technique. And I think that has to do with conditioning. And that's just a hypothesis for me. I'm not an expert. I don't know his his regimen, but I feel like this is one of those things that if he gets into the league, takes it seriously, and gets to that like 340 range, and truly does lock in terms of his conditioning and strength stuff. Because I mean, he's got insane strength already as it is. But if he can get that conditioning under control and be a better athlete, we don't need him to be an elite athlete. We need him to be a conditioned athlete that can have stamina. And that's why I'm lower on him, is because I'm worried that if he hasn't built conditioning at this point, is that going to be an issue at the next level?
So I think we're kind of in agreement. Monroe and Francis are top 15 worthy. And if you drop Monroe in the top 15, you're betting on potential, but there's reason for optimism. I think they're locked first round guys, and I think they're locked tackles.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm personally not taking another tackle until pick 20, 25.
Yep.
And that's not just because I'm a Niner fan. Everyone else on this list, you're gonna have to know the pros and cons of this talent. I get it. You like usually seven tackles, I think, is the average going around one every draft.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, Caden Proctor, to me, like I have him. I think he will go somewhere between like 20 and 50. And honestly, I feel comfortable with him somewhere between like 45 to the end of round 2. Like that's where personally I feel comfortable with him.
I would take him at 27.
Okay.
I would. But, Rams, Niners, Packers, teams with a good plan, teams with a good staff in line. Like, Niners drafting receivers, a little dicey. Niners draft, like the Niners make really bad offensive linemen look good. And so if you get a guy with potential, then there's reason for that. Now, would I be shocked if look, 7 are going to go in round 1. They're going to go. I don't think they're unjustified going in round 1.
If you told me, if I woke up, the morning after night 1, and you told me that, that a few guys went in the top 15 and then the Lions took Caden Proctor at 17, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that kind of gets into it. I'm going to let you talk about Blake Miller before I tell you why I just can't write at 4.
Gotcha. So Blake Miller, for me, tons of experience, great tape against top competition. In terms of technical skill, he might be one of the best, if not the best, in this class. He's got some really, really strong technical skill. His accuracy and his pop with his hands is elite. When you you watch the tape, it looks like he confuses defensive players sometimes because they're not expecting his hands to hit with such force and accuracy where he's trying to place them. And he's a guy that has a pretty good mean streak. He's a bully. One of his issues is there's another one of those guys that gets upright too much, which can cause some issues, reaching a little bit sometimes. And I think I'll let you talk about your reasoning for having him a little lower, but for me, I think he is a pretty high floor guy, even if his ceiling is not as high as others.
So that's exactly where I'm at. Honestly, I'm seeing some mock drafts where the Niners draft him, and I'm like, that's the guy they have. Blake Miller is the NFL draft version of Old Reliable. You draft Blake Miller, you got a right tackle who's going to be okay. I don't think an okay right tackle should go in round 1. I don't. Now, look, at this point in time, if they took Blake Miller, I'm like, at least it's competition. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now, I will say his athletic profile, I actually got more angry when I looked at his testing numbers, and I'm like, where the heck is that?
Yeah.
Because a guy with that skill set should not be a guy like I'm looking at Cade Klubnik running like, you better get rid of that ball. Like, and you're in the ACC. I mean, did Clemson play Miami?
Probably. I don't remember.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
but yeah, for me, in terms of like I think he would be a top half of the league right tackle at a minimum at the next level. And to me, like that's worth a late first round pick. Now I'm not taking him because see, Ian Atcher is the guy that I'm taking in the first round because I have a good offensive line and I know I can get this guy up to speed and he's going to be a great future starter for me. Blake Miller is the guy I'm taking late in the first round because I need a guy to come in right away and shore up my offensive line.
Yep.
So there's just like two sides of a coin, you know.
Yeah. So again, you draft Blake Miller, you got a starting caliber right tackle guy for 15 years. Like, that's not an insult. That's good, but that's also all you get. Because while his athletic testing says there should be a lot of potential there, I've never seen it. Just steady, reliable, technically sound, and again, like, if you say that's worth a first round pick because I can check right tackle off my list and go to sleep at night, then I can't argue that. I can't.
Yeah.
But man, don't you need special in round one? Isn't that what you're going for? Now, I guess the counter argument, I just said there's only like two special guys.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, if in a loaded class, yeah, absolutely. But in a class where like there's questions all across the board, I'm just trying to get a long-term starter. But you want to talk about Dunker?
I have been high on Dunker all year. And I was high on him before the combine, and like he low key put on a show, dude. Like his in my formula, I have formulas based out athletically and comparing them by position, and he's almost as athletically skilled. Like, he has a higher left tackle athleticism score than he does at right tackle. Now, look, I'm like, that's cool to know, but I'm putting him at right tackle. But all this nonsense about put him at guard, like that, what a waste! What a waste of talent. Now you put him on the field, and you're like, I got a guy I can put literally anywhere. But he's plenty fast enough, plenty long enough, and you like, he's plenty mobile enough, plenty shifty enough, and he's an Iowa guy, and those guys are coached.
Yeah.
It's just, you combine that level of coaching, that level of execution with like really, really good measurable 6'5", plenty tall enough, 319. If he eats another cheeseburger, he's right in the window where I want him to be. 5.18, 40, 33.5-inch arms. Look, if you're a 34-inch guy, then explain the Patriots to me. Look, 33.5 is fine. A 4.63 shuttle, 10-inch hands. There's no hole in his game. And honestly, you just stop with the guards talk. Like, just stop it.
So from my perspective, I was a little surprised by his athletic testing because watching the games, he doesn't look to have as good of lateral quickness as his testing would suggest he does. And my question is, did he get was that just because of training? Because I would like to see that on the field. So that's my question, and that's why I think they consider him as someone that to move into guard, because on the film the lateral quickness was not great at times, but he tested really, really well, and we know he's that bully ball type guy, right? He's the mean guy that like if a player knocks down your quarterback, he's gonna go knock him out.
Like, no lie, I would prefer, and again, I haven't ranked that way. I would rather the Niners draft. Like, if I'm at 27, I'm okay with Proctor. On my shadow team, I might take Proctor. But for my 49ers, I'd rather them draft Ian Archer or Dunker. Because the potential and upside, I see it more.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know, because I maybe I'm a little biased because I've seen Blake Miller get his teeth kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen Jennings Dunker like have bad reps, but he's never had a bad game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the distinction for me.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the Utah guys back to back real quick, since you don't have one of them, and I'll explain why. So Caleb Lomu first. I have him as number 5 overall. So the thing I will say for him is he is not quite there physically. That's why he's a little lower on my board than what he could be, because he's just lacking some play strength, and he seems like a guy that needs to get in an NFL strength and conditioning program and just build up some more strength to help with that, put on some extra weight. But he does have solid quickness, good hand technique. One thing that was interesting is when I watched the Texas Tech game, because if you're going to watch offensive linemen, might as well watch them against that defensive line. And one thing I noticed, and I'm not an expert by any means in terms of watching offensive line tape, but it seemed like he got beat a couple times, but similar to when I talked about some of the safeties in one of our defensive shows, that I liked the guys that got beat and then didn't get that beat that way again, is it felt like that's what Lomu was doing, is he would get beat by an inside swim move or something like that, and then the next time he was ready for it. So that I thought that was encouraging to me, but yeah, he needs to build up some play strength for sure. Anything to add on him before I talk about Spencer Fano?
I like. Am I right? His combine weight came in at 314.
I think so.
That really did him favors, because my big problem with Lomu, look again, 33 is enough. He's a little shorter than elite, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I was horrified at his weight. I think they had him listed at like 308, and I'm like, no.
At one point they had him listed at 295, and I was like,
yeah.
Yeesh.
So you got to get that on there. So no, he's not as long as I'd like, but he's long enough, and he's got enough weight. So that's really helped his stock, in my opinion. That was the only real. I love seeing that weight come on, and now I need to see that the athleticism hasn't diminished because the weight went up. If I see that, then my board is going to change.
Yeah. Okay. And so Spencer Fano, his thing, he's got a crazy awesome motor, very athletic. He's got pretty solid play strength despite his size. But that's really the big thing with him, is that he's very lightweight, very short arms. And so a lot of people are going to say he's probably a guard. But then again, like for me, the reason I kept him here is I'd like to see him give it a go. If he was going in to be a left tackle, I would for sure have issues right away. But At right tackle, I'm a little less concerned with the short arm, so let him try it. But at worst, you've got yourself a really nice guard. I would not be surprised to see him go still middle of the first round. I could see him going to a team like the Ravens, who need some offensive line help, because they need interior and tackle help. So that's one of those things. They've got a potentially line versatile guy that they could have. So, and I know you were pretty high on him, but you had him in your guard rankings, right?
Yeah, so he's my number 2 offensive line prospect.
Yeah.
So this is not, this is not a I don't like Fano. I just think he's a guard. And to get into, if I just go over to right tackle, what was it, 32.1? Is that where we're at? He would, just give me a couple moments. 32.1, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
He would have the shortest arms of any other starting tackle on the right side. So now Braden Smith, it would be number 2 by a hair. Like if Lomu does a pull up, he probably has Braden Smith length arms. So Ryan is not a crazy person for saying, like, put him out there, give him a shot.
Yeah.
I don't know that I hate that idea, especially like, okay. I don't know that you would like Lomu, Fano going to the Browns, but the Browns drafting Spencer Fano and being like, put him somewhere. Like,
yeah, they have like pick 26 or something like that.
I wouldn't hate, like, you get him at 26, he's a steal.
Yeah.
I'm talking about number 6.
Number 6.
Yeah, that's how highly I think of him.
Yeah, I personally think because of his length issues, that's going to be why he's off the table there. But I think he is going first round for sure.
Yeah. If he, like, I have not once considered a world where he falls to 27.
Yeah.
I don't want to think of that world because I'd be too, like, if he fell to 27 and I dropped him on my shadow team and then I was like, we're going to take KC Conception, I'd punch my television. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Mm-hmm. I did just see you guys are going to be meeting with Omar Cooper Jr.
Yeah. And again, like Cooper Jr., I am less horrified by, like, I'm like, well, at least he's caught a football. So that's not completely fair. To be fair, KC Conception had more reliable hands than Tet.
Yeah.
And Tet he won Rookie of the Year. So what do I know?
You want to talk about Caleb Tiernan?
I do, because the only reason, like, I'm angry that Caleb Tiernan is not in the first round conversation because I don't know why he's not. And I'm like, I mean, is it Northwestern? Is it that stupid? Now look, athletically speaking, he has what I would call, what I have as he got a second round athletic testing grade. So if he goes early to him, like, all right, I got it. But I've already talked about it. Like, if you're not drafted in round 1, good luck.
Yeah.
Now at left tackle, here's the other knock. He's got that 32.25. I'd happily put him on the right side where he still has a second round grade. So if I draft him, and I'm like, I know, and he'd be the second shortest arms. So I maybe a little hypocritical, flag on there. But again, it's because he's got an early second round grade. When I try to distinguish, I'm drafting you in the first round, I am considering also what fans are going to do to those poor young men.
Yeah.
Do you remember Robert Gallery?
I do.
A brilliant, 15-year career at guard. But don't mention Robert Gallery around a Raider fan. Because they did not draft him to play guard.
No.
And they certainly didn't draft him at like number 3. And so Caleb Lomu in the second round, and even Fano in the second round, that makes a kind of sense there. So I know you're like, you just said Fano got short arms and Tiernan has short arms. Yes, but Fano is going in round 1.
Yep.
And Tiernan should go in round 2, will probably go in round 3.
Yeah, and so for me, Tiernan, we're pretty similar on him. And I have him as a similar prospect to Blake Miller, but with maybe a little because the athleticism is not as good. That's why I have him a little lower, because he has great technical skill. Again, hand placement and timing, footwork. He gets into his anchor really well, but that's how he makes up for the lack of athleticism. But then, yeah, he's got short arms and little hands. So that is a question, but I think he's going to be a very good offensive lineman in the league. The question will be, will they keep him at tackle? Will they move him to guard? Will they move him to the right side because he was mostly on the left side? Those question marks are part of the reason why he goes down the board a little bit for me.
Yeah, and look, if you go like 2, round 3, I like him as a developmental swing tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So we've talked about more of my guys. You want to talk about World?
Oh, yeah, I'll talk about World. So World came in. There were a lot of people who had him as the number 1 tackle coming into the season. And things just didn't come together. And I watched a lot of Oregon games because I studied Harkey all season. Isaiah World, again, like 6'8", 318. I love 6'7". Yeah, I know, I get it. I love that height. Once you get to 6'8", it gets very hard to anchor. And I think that's what got him burnt. I need to see his athletic testing. I need to see his length because I struggle seeing that on tape. The Oregon Pro Day was today. Did you hear anything?
I heard Jaden Kennedy did well, but I hadn't paid attention to much else.
So I think his size, and look, for his size, he shows, like, when you say like, oh, he's athletic for someone who's 6'8", I'm like, yes, that's true. No other 6'8" guy moves like him. But he still doesn't move like an off-ball linebacker or a, speed defensive end. And he fell all the way from potential number 1 tackle to a mid-round guy because he gets cooked with speed. Yeah. And that is his knock. Can technique, can getting that kick step, can he develop? I don't know. So he's the first, I think 8 guys should get drafted. I know I've already said 7 go in round 1. They do. Like linemen go in round 1. That's just like how it happens. But I have guys who I like. When you're that tall, you got a lot of development that you need. There are tools to work with there, but I take World a little later, and you got to be okay with that height. You got to be okay with, how well does he anchor? How well does he kick step? And those are questions I don't like what the tape says.
Yeah, that was my big thing, is the film was rough this year. He was on his butt a lot. And like it was those speed guys, and you're going to run into more speed at the next level.
Yeah, they don't get slower.
Yeah, the fast guys are the normal guys at the next level. So, yeah, so for me, that's why I've probably got a day 3 grade on him personally. But his upside is great, but the film wasn't there this year. But speaking of big guys, Travis Burke, my number 10. So Travis Burke is a guy out of Memphis who is 6'9", even bigger. And he's got great size, extremely long arms, long reach. He is a really strong finisher. The thing that helps him deal with losing the leverage aspect of that height is he's got really solid hand placement and strong hands. The quickness, like the lateral quickness, is I think probably going to be his biggest issue, and at the next level that might cause more issues. So I'm not sure about that. But what I'll say is I think he has starter upside. I loved what I saw from him, and I know Memphis didn't play the best all the time in terms of competition. But that's the type of guy that I think can develop and be a really solid left tackle potentially at the next level.
So I can't pretend I have the same optimism for Travis Burke, but I want to acknowledge, depending upon like how he moves, like you're looking at a very big lump of coal, but there just might be a diamond in there.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't get around the lump of coal. So that's kind of my metaphor for Travis Burke.
Okay.
Austin Barber, a little bit smaller lump of coal. He was another guy who had first round talk heading into the season. And like the rest of Florida, he got cooked consistently.
Yeah.
So I can't get around it. He got cooked a lot. So, if he had a mediocre season, his hands are a little smaller too. If he had a mediocre season, he's still going round one. The guy has all the athleticism you could ever want. He's got first round athleticism and fifth round tape.
Yeah.
And that's like, I got to be honest. If he goes before round 5, I'm like, I know why. If he goes in round 5, I'm like, you might be a genius. Because if you can get all of that clay to work the way it's supposed to work, you're really, really onto something. But man, I wish I saw any of it. I think coming into the season, everyone looked at the athleticism, and that's what they were looking at.
Yeah.
But the technique just never came together. I mean, what do you think?
And man, with him, the thing that like pushed him down my board was if the defense knew it was a pass play, like if it was an obvious passing down, he was done for. Because he would often be out there on an island, and when it was him and another guy, he would just get cooked.
Slow up the ball.
Yeah, and so that's where he pushed down the board for me. Let's do some honorable mentions, and then we'll talk about the one guy that was on consensus that we didn't have. But so one of my honorable mentions, Markel Bell, another big monstrous guy out of Miami. I think he's 6'9".
He shows that athleticism though, don't he?
His athleticism is freaky for the size that he is. Like I remember seeing some tape where he was out in space on like a screen, and you just see like this small corner with this 6'9" monster barreling down on him.
You ever watch Attack on Titan?
No.
He looks like the Armor Titan. So if you're an anime fan, you get that. But like you a 6'9" guy should never be able to move the way he can move.
Yeah. His blocking, his actual technique is a work in progress. So I think that's why he's lower. He's not far outside of my top 10. I honestly think he's going to go in that round 4 range, and I would not be surprised to see if the Bengals take him. He would be an obvious potential successor to Orlando Brown Jr. or just a backup for him because they just extended him for a couple more years. So, but that's my guy. And you have a few people here you want to talk about.
So I want to talk about.
We'll talk about two of them because one of them is the one that's on the consensus list. You want to talk about Alan Herron and J.C. Davis?
I want to talk about J.C. Davis because look, he's got third round athleticism, or second round athleticism at the right tackle. I think he's a right tackle, and look, if you tell me you question his lateral quickness, I'm like, all right, I hear what you're saying. I'm okay. I think he's going to be a sneaky good, he probably doesn't start for 4 years, but he's going to get on the right side of the line and anchor that line down.
Yeah.
Good technique, relatively reliable. I've seen him get cooked. That's why he doesn't have a higher grade for me. Overall, that's why he's not in my top 10, because he needs to be developed. But that is my knock on him. If someone else says like, no, that lateral stuff, I'm like, well, all right, I would beg to differ, but I can't call you crazy.
Yeah, I had him at 10 at one point, and I moved him. I've been moving him up and down a little bit around that 10 to 12 range. I think he is a great option for a team that needs a swing tackle immediately. So,
and Alan Herron is a guy I can't quit. So he consensus has him as a solid UDFA. And I get why, I guess. I don't want to. He's not the most athletic guy. He's really not. Like, he's really, really not. And his lateral quickness is not great. All that is true. I watched 2 Maryland games, and I just think there's something there. And I might just be holding on to preseason bias because I really did like him.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to be honest, like, he didn't get cooked as much as some of these other guys. But he should be. Like, he should be getting cooked more than he is, because he's not athletically gifted as the guys who made it on my top 10. And that he's another guy I take. If I get him as a UDFA, I think I got a swing tackle. I got a guy I can probably put, anywhere on the line because he's 6'5". So you get that kind of skill, and he may never start, but I think I could plug him in and he can get me through a game or two. And I just like him.
Yeah.
I got no evidence to support my love for him, but
hey, don't know that.
I will affirm it.
Hey, there was a couple years ago, I was a Devonta Maxwell truther, defensive tackle out of Tennessee, Chattanooga, I think, or no, I forget what school it was. Yeah, I sometimes just like a guy,
Yep.
So here's a good breakdown, nice little graphic here to show you. The one guy that is in the consensus top 10 right now that we did not have is the other guy Matt had written down as an honorable mention, which is Demetrius Crownover. So he's a huge guy, great length. He was actually a former tight end. Like when he came to Texas A&M, I believe he was there. He came there to be a tight end. So he's still, I guess, growing into that offensive line role a little bit. I think he needs a lot of development still, but he's got the size, and he did it in the SEC, and so there's that upside there. I'm a fan. What do you got to say about him, Matt?
I do think of all the honorable mentions, and even he's a guy who flirted with my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
He might have the same amount of upside. Like I think Barber could develop into a starter, Crownover could develop into a starter, and I see the potential. I understand why he's in the top 10 on the consensus. The tools are there, and I've seen him like watch the Senior Bowl. He's one of the few guys who, like, the Senior Bowl was really this year was like, check out these edge rushers.
Yeah.
And part of that because there weren't a lot of, like Jennings Dunker represented himself well, Yanicher represented himself well, and Cranauer kind of low key, like had a similar, like, yeah, they all took their medicine, they did, but they also, like, those three kind of settled down throughout the week as well.
Yeah. And for me, like, he's one of those guys that he's probably going to go higher than Burke, World, Barber, the guys that we have
Is
at
he?
the back
Oh, yeah.
end. So like he'll probably go higher than all of those. So, and as we've talked about before, the consensus board is pretty true. So like wherever they land on the consensus board, it's probably going to be where they go. So it makes sense, but he's definitely a guy that I'm a fan of and see the upside. But that's it for our offensive tackles. So like I said, it's not as deep of a group as you would like, but and there's a lot of question marks for a lot of these guys, but there's going to be some long-term starters found here, right? Like it's not completely barren. There's not no chance for you to find a starter. There's quite a few year one starters, and some that might take a little bit of time, but there's some upside. So what we got coming up in the near future is we've got some more offensive positions. So we've done the offensive line. We're done with the trenches now. So we're getting into the skill positions starting next week. So next week, the 24th, we're going to talk about our top 10 running backs, which I'm finding more fun pieces as I go, but it's not necessarily like it's pretty barren at the top.
I could have done a top 5.
Huh?
I could have done a top 5. I got 6 through 10, but that's only because you made me.
And then there's the tight end class, which is similar. Everybody says it's like a huge, deep class. Like that's the thing now, tight end class. That's going to be on the 31st of March. But so we'll talk about that. And then we're going to go April 7th, wide receivers. April 14th, we'll wrap it up with the quarterbacks. And then some point between on one of those shows, maybe if we have time during the running back show, we could do an updated top 50 or top 100. So we'll talk about that during one of the next couple shows. We'll do a top 50, top 100. And then comes the actual draft. So we might still try to see if we can't find some other players to do some interviews between now and then. But if not, we're going to reattack that in the off season of draft off season. Make sure you go back and look at our interviews with Landon, who's going to be going much higher than you ever expected. We expected it the whole time. And then Cameron Stewart, whose pro day is on Friday. Wait, what's today? Tuesday? Thursday. His pro day is on Thursday. And then Max Pooley, who just had his pro day, and it was really solid. So make sure you go back and watch those videos. Matt, you got anything for him?
Nope. I will just say that 6 of the names on our top 10s will go in round 1. I guarantee it.
Okay, I can agree with that. All right. Well, as always, like and subscribe, turn on the notifications, and something I actually, Matt, I don't know if you saw this, but I posted this on my Twitter. I really want us to get up in following. Not because I'm trying to monetize and make tons of money or anything like that, but because the story of Landon going from really low ranked to super high ranked now is something that we love to see. We want people that are underrated to get attention and to be noticed. And that's why we aim for some of these guys that aren't getting the talk that that they deserve. And so when we do that, the more eyes that we can get on those guys, the better. That helps other big name people look at them. And Max Pulley, I think he met with like 18 teams today, is what yesterday during his pro day is what it said. That stuff's awesome. And so that's what I want to see. And so if you share this, like and subscribe. If you like this page, if we get up to 250 by the end of the draft, I will randomly draw one person and select a winner, and that winner can pick a player from his team's draft, and I'll get them the jersey for that. All right, that'll be on me. And really, that's just because we want to be able to share more stories. We want those stories to get out so those players can get the attention they deserve.
And remember, like, it's a free lottery ticket, man. Like, you just click a button. I got like 4 profiles, so like you know.
Yeah, exactly. So all right, like and subscribe. Next week we'll be back and talking about those skill players. Thanks, everyone.